The idea of fearing success is just predicated on this idea that the more you get, the more problems you get, and the harder it'll be. But what people leave out is the more you get, yes, the more problems there will be. And yes, the more difficult it will be. But now you have the resources to deal with those problems. And so it's easier. More problems come, problems get more difficult. But now you're more equipped to deal with those problems, right? So that's the idea of the fear of success. The fear of failure is I just don't want to put in the effort and waste any of my time if there's a possibility of losing. That's the idea of failure, which is completely nonsensical to me. I never understood this idea of failure because you're either scared of failing because people are going to judge you, or you're scared of failing because you just don't want to waste time. You can't waste something that's infinite. Like it's here, and your time is limited. So what? You have more. And if you don't, none of it matters. Like that is my philosophy when it comes to life. Uh, Fear failure if you want. It'll just it just holds you back. All right, so the idea of fearing success makes more sense to me because at least that way you're trying to grow. Fearing success means you've already done it and you're on the journey, you just need to grow. And you don't know how to grow or you're afraid to grow. So these are 9 rules that really help me. First one, be extremely fearful of failing, right? It's very paradoxical. Uh, so instead of having it be a crutch, use it as a propellant. You're right, you might lose, which makes the fight so desirable. The fear of succeeding is the fear of possibly failing. We do not know the details, we only know the outcome. And so we would rather do something that guarantees some kind of success or win than to do something that has the possibility of us losing or failing. It is also what comes with success. The more you have, the more you don't want to lose it. We have a low resolution image of what success looks like. It involves us doing things that no one else will do, which means they might judge us. It involves us not hanging out with friends, which means they will judge us. It involves us taking risks, which means people will laugh if you fail. The foundation of fear is negative external judgment or death. Now, imagine what you would do if you couldn't fail. Even better, what you would do if you want to get judged. Do those things. Whatever it is that you would do if you want to get judged, if you knew you want to fail, do those things. But step one, and my first rule is to fear failure, because at least it becomes a propellant. And you have to make sure you know how to use the fear of failing as a propellant, because if it's a crutch, if the fear of failing is what's restricting you, holding you back, then you have it completely flipped upside down. The fear of failure should put you back against the wall so much so that it sparks motivation. And that's what motivation is. Motivation is being extremely deprived of something so much so that you want to obtain it. You want to take action to obtain it. So when you want to overcome this fear of growth, fear of success, fear of more, just fear failing. And so then it'll kind of take you from here and you'll say, wait, what am I afraid of? To screw that. I'm afraid of this. I'm more afraid of losing and failing than I am of just having more problems. I'd rather have more problems than to lose. All right. Second one, there's a time for leverage and just brute force. Avoid comfort. Humans are designed to enjoy comfort. It's easier on us and it requires less energy. For some, we assume that our energy supply is limited. We have an unlimited amount of energy, not limited. In states of control or in states of comfort, we would rather continue to exist in this dying state than try to do something uncomfortable. But things are only uncomfortable we perceive it to be. And so the perception of something is actually what makes it that thing. If you can change your perception, and say, this is hard, which is exactly why I'll do it, because it's the only way I can become better. Instead of saying, this is hard, so I'll avoid it, you just become a lot more capable and dangerous. I'm really big on leverage. And leverage is, can I get a bigger return by putting less energy into it? So leverage is what you get despite what you put in. If I put in a little and I get a lot, I have high leverage. If I put in a lot and I get a little bit, I have low leverage. So I'm really big on leverage because it helps you optimize. But there is a time for just brute force, man. Like, here's a good example. Let's say I've made 10 YouTube videos and they're not doing good. I can leverage it. I can leverage YouTube by getting a videographer and doing this. Or I can just brute force my way through. You can up the quality, or you can just produce so much that the quality just gets better by sheer repetition. Part of this is avoiding comfort because it's a lot easier to look for leverage. It's a lot easier for us to do things that's easy. It's comfortable. Brute force requires repetition, consistency, volume, again and again and again and again. Like, it's freaking annoying, man. Like, over and over and over and over. That's uncomfortable. But if you want to enter this stage of growth, you have to avoid comfort. There's no other way. If you can avoid comfort, that means you are okay with uncomfortability. It's not like you're trying to avoid uncomfortability. So at least when things that are not going the best, when things hit the fan, at least you're not all broken down, depressed, and saying, damn, that sucks. Well, because you didn't care about comfort to begin with. You let it go. So you're completely okay with uncomfortability. All right. Next rule. Use your anxiety-driven mind. We have an anxiety-driven mind so that we can look for threats, so that we can live another day instead of actually just living and enjoying whatever it is that we have. You can leverage this. You can use your anxiety-driven mind to devise a strategic plan that can be executed so that you can progress. This anxiety-driven mind creates false realities and makes us fearful of taking the leap. The only fear you should have is the fear of not growing to your fullest potential. Squeeze every last drip of potential out of you so that you can give it to the world. I think an anxiety-driven mind is one of the greatest superpowers ever. And I hate the idea that anxiety is this terrible thing now, and it doesn't make sense to me. Because our ancestors were always anxious 24/7. Predators were around them. They were going to get killed by wild animals, boars, lions. And then now we're anxious because we hear a helicopter just floating above us, right? It makes no sense now. And we're so anxious now because we focus on things that we think matter. If you want a superpower and you have anxiety, then you already have a superpower. And I wish that I learned this earlier. The more you desire to be comfortable, the more you desire for things to go your way, the more you want it easy, the less interesting you are. And the less interesting you are, the harder it is for you to become someone exceptional. If you're anxious, if you're always uncomfortable, if you're always doing difficult things, then you have quite a story to tell. And so your character has developed significantly over the years, which makes you interesting, which makes you different, which makes you unique, exceptional. Anxiety is a superpower. If you're opening a business and you have anxiety, I guarantee you're going to learn everything. Anxiety is your brain's inability to stop producing thoughts at a rapid rate. That's all anxiety is. When your mind produces thoughts, those thoughts produce emotion, and when we think about things that are in the unforeseeable future or the past that you can't change. We're never in the present. And so this, if it's in the unforeseeable future, it's highly anxious. If it's in the shameful and regretful past, we feel a lot of guilt and we're just annoyed. And we wish we could change things. If we have an anxiety-driven mind, we're always on go. That means we think all the time. It means we're thinking of ideas, we're reading, we're learning, and we just can't sit still. We're just always on go, which is a good thing. Because the more on go you are, the more you grow. I care about growth. I don't really care about anything else. All this is going to end. I'm going to die. I just care about growth. And so I do things that help me grow because I want to be able to die knowing that I squeezed every last drip of potential out of me. And then I think that's a good life. All right. So use your anxiety-driven mind. Next one. Know when to proceed with logic or emotion. When we feel, we're not thinking, and if we're thinking, it's purely logical and it's not based on feelings. It's really difficult to feel and think at the same time, like really hard. The problem is we feel like something's hard, when in actuality, it really isn't. It's important to understand when to be emotional, when to be logical. When you really think it through, are things that hard? No, you just enjoy procrastination. So here's an example. Let's say I want to start reading a book. Let's say I want to start reading this book. And I feel like it's so hard. But let's say I just open it and I just start reading. Oh, it's not so hard, right? Because we see the whole of something. We never see the steps. You hear this saying all the time, it's about the journey, not the destination. It's about the climb, not the peak. When we want something, we see the destination, we just don't know what it's going to take to achieve whatever it is that we want. If we set our sights on something, a goal, an accomplishment, whatever it may be, we underestimate what it takes to achieve it. And we overestimate how fast and how easy it would be to achieve it. I don't know why we're programmed like this, but everything we do, we expect it to be easy and we expect it to be quick, which is why everyone gives up, because nothing is quick or easy. And then the whole idea of the process is we underestimate how difficult it really is. Like, nothing is simple and nothing is easy. Things can be simple. Things can be easy. But for the most part, they're not. If you can just say, okay, regardless of how I feel, I'm going to get whatever it is done, you'll notice that it's not that difficult. Your perception of it being difficult is what made it difficult. It's easy. It's not hard for me to open this book and start reading. It's very simple to go like this. Like, it's very easy. I just think it's hard because of the amount of effort it's going to take me to finish this book. If I just begin to enjoy the journey, I'm not focused on finishing the book. I'm focused on absorbing every word. I'm focused on dissecting every page, understanding every idea. And so it becomes fun. You have to know when you should be proceeding with logic or emotion, and this will really, really help you out. Whatever you think is hard really is not that hard. And whatever you feel is hard is not that hard. And whatever you know is hard turns out to actually be easy. It's strange. It's very paradoxical. But you can't just assume something is a certain way because that's exactly how you're going to treat it. That's exactly how you're going to behave. If I assume that reading is annoying and I hate it and it's a waste of time, I am going to be annoyed. I am going to not enjoy reading and I will never pick up a book because I assume that it's worthless. I perceive it to be worthless. And that's all emotion. Now I'm angry. Now I don't want to do it. Now I'm lazy. But if I just proceed logically and I say, well, if I read, I'll learn. If I learn, I'll grow. If I grow, I can teach. If I can teach, I'll do better. And it'll help me with my focus. And so I'll win. That's logical. That makes me want to say, well, if that's the case, let me pick up this book, right? Logic or emotion. Understand when you should proceed with either or. Next one. Procrastination is the arrogance of thinking you have tomorrow to do something. It's a gamble of hope. You know what hope is? Hope is you going to sleep having no clear indication that you're going to win or that you're going to wake up the next day. And you set your alarm and you close your eyes. Like, that's hope. You have no reason to believe that you'll wake up tomorrow. You could die. This could be your last night. But instead you choose to say, well, I know I'm going to wake up tomorrow. So set my alarm, go to sleep. You're running off hope. You're not running off anything. Perhaps you could be running off statistics. You're like, well, for 18 years I've been alive. One more day won't hurt, right? Perhaps it's statistical, but you're running off hope. And when you think you have tomorrow, it's a gamble of hope. Do I think that we have tomorrow? Yeah. Yeah, I do. The likelihood of you waking up tomorrow and me waking up tomorrow is pretty high. And if it's not high, then it didn't matter anyways. You're right, he's right, she's right. It doesn't matter anyways. The idea behind procrastination is predicated on the acknowledgement that you have tomorrow. And so wasting a day is fine. However, if you do this long enough, you reinstate this behavior. And so it becomes okay to push things off instead of getting it done now. You must learn to swallow the glass now, pain now, pleasure later. In order to get yourself accustomed to delayed gratification, you need to be able to direct an enormous amount of directed focus toward the task at hand. Don't try to destroy yourself by doing multiple things at once. Just do one thing. Focus on it. That's it. And then once that's done, move on to the next. Example, if your house is messy, acknowledging how messy it is makes you unmotivated and you don't want to clean. Now, if you just start in the kitchen, you move to the living room. Next thing you know, you'll move to the guest room, the bedroom, and now the house is done and the job is finished. I give this example because that's the whole point of procrastination. We procrastinate because we see the whole of something. If you just give it a little bit a day, you'll build the momentum. And so the whole of it isn't so far away and it's not unmotivationally distant. It's right there. A good example is that, right? If you acknowledge that your house is messy and it's such a mess and it's going to take so long, the likelihood of you cleaning it significantly decreases. Now, if you say, okay, my house is dirty, I'm going to start in the kitchen. From there, I'm moving to the living room, then the dining room, then the bedroom. You'll say, okay, kitchen done, bedroom next. And then the likelihood of you actually doing it increases, but more than that, it's focusing on progression, not outcome. We feel best when we progress. That's what Tony Robbins says. And because it rhymes, it's true. When you progress, you just naturally feel better because you feel like nothing is wasted. Time is not wasted, energy is not wasted, effort is not wasted because you evidently see that you are becoming better, be it mentally, physically, spiritually, or emotionally, whatever it may be. I gave that example of the house because when we look at the whole of something, we understand that we'll become better once we achieve the whole. But the whole is such low resolution that we'll never know when we actually have achieved it. When we can just look at progression, what happens is we can see, okay, I did this today, I did this tomorrow, or I'm doing this tomorrow, and I'm gonna do this the next day. So you get to see, okay, well, I'm getting a little bit better every single day. We only procrastinate when we think it's really difficult or that it's just way too much. That's all procrastination is. It's acknowledging that something is too difficult or too damn much. You overcome procrastination by saying, one, I don't have tomorrow. And two, it's about the climb, not the peak. It's about the destination, not the journey. It's about the process, not the outcome. You become good throughout the process. If you are mindful, you throughout the process is what builds you. So the process actually works on you more than you work on the process. And in turn, that just creates the whole. Which, if you just focus on the whole, like I said earlier, it's really difficult to take action because it's freaking large and we've only achieved 5-10% and we have a long way to go. All right. So just remember that procrastination is the arrogance of thinking that you have tomorrow to do something that you should be doing today. Next one, conquer the fear of death. At the end of the day, the ultimate fear is the fear of death. Because the one thing that's unknown is the one thing that we cannot escape. We don't know what happens after, and there's no way we can escape it. That's terrifying. And if you can conquer the fear of death, all other fears are eliminated. Everything regresses down to death. The best way to approach this is by acceptance. You can't avoid it. It's going to happen, 100% guaranteed. Your fear of death is the fear that you will be underlived. And if you don't want to be underlived, then do things so that you can buy back time. Now, this is subjective because you need to understand what it means to live to you. But for me, when I feared death, I used to, not anymore, but when I used to fear death, it was predicated on this idea that I haven't lived enough. And so I was underlived. And so when I understood that, I said, my fear of death is just a fear of being underlived, meaning I haven't seen enough, done enough, experienced enough. So that gave me a definition of what it means to live. To live for me is to experience, to do things, to see things. All good, bad, happy, sad, pain, everything. You can't avoid it. It's something that you just have to accept. You seriously cannot avoid it. It's going to come. And so, whether it comes in 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, tomorrow, whatever the definition of living means, whatever that is to you, do it. It may not be the same as it is for me. Like I said, living to me is knowing that I was able to squeeze every drip of potential, that I was able to experience everything. That's the highs and the lows and the pains and the peaks and the valleys and the twists and turns. And I've just felt my best on a long enough time horizon, like a net gain. I always focus on net gains, right? And so the process of self-development and mindfulness and awareness and personal growth, the whole process of that was very painful, and it was excruciatingly devastating to just wake up the next day. But on a long enough time horizon, like I became the best version of myself because I made those decisions, because of those long, tedious nights and hours and days and years, right? I became the best version of myself despite that. And so to me, living is putting myself through more things like that because it'll make me the best version of myself. If I'm the best version of myself, the likelihood of me being able to experience more things increases. If I'm not the best version of myself, then me experiencing things will decrease. I'll experience things, but not the things that I want to experience. If I'm not the best version of myself, I don't see myself experiencing what it feels like to own your own yacht or something like that, right? And that's a whole nother conversation because I believe in living simplistically and being the best. And that'll be a topic for another video. But conquering the fear of death is really, really good. If you regress everything down, it just boils down to death. So you're scared of snakes. You're scared of snakes because they crawl and they're ugly and they're gonna bite you. And if they bite you, it's gonna hurt. And if it hurts, you're gonna feel pain. And if there's venom, then you'll be in the hospital. And if you're in the hospital, you're gonna get sick and you're gonna die. You're scared of heights because when you're up there, there's a possibility that you'll fall and die. You're scared to talk to that girl because you're scared that she'll reject you. And if she rejects you, the whole world will find out and laugh at you, and you will never be able to be seen in public, and you will only live in your house the rest of your life, and you'll be miserable and you'll die. Right? So everything regresses down to death. When you can identify that every single fear on the face of this planet just regresses down to death, it makes you just take action. It's like, okay, it's gonna come anyways. Don't avoid it, accept it. It's gonna come. Good. Good. So since I'm gonna die, I'm gonna do something now. Right? Instead of, oh, I'm gonna die, I'm so scared. No, since I'm gonna die, I'm gonna do it now. Because I'm gonna die, I'm gonna do it now. Not, I don't want to start because I'm scared because I'm gonna die, but I'm going to die and I'm scared, and so I'll start. It becomes this excuse for why you're not doing something, and it takes it into, this is exactly why I should be doing it. Right? And I love it. I love it. Conquer the fear of death. I love it. One of the best things. Next one. Be delusional and crazy. Successful people are delusional and crazy. They believe that they will get out of the hole that they were once in when they had nothing to show for it. No one could rip them of their dream. They were going to make it happen one way or another, and they believed in themselves even when they thought that they were going to fail. That's the dark side of success. You got to be delusional. You are crazy. You're insane. Because whoever dares to dream is insane. If you are not willing to be viewed as insane, crazy, and delusional, you probably are not cut out for success. At my absolute lowest, when I had no money, nothing, I was so delusional in that I believed that I would get out of this situation one way or another. I don't know how delusional or crazy I had to be dead broke, have nothing going for me, mentally be a mess, physically be a mess, spiritually be in distraught. I don't know how crazy I had to be to just say, I'm gonna get out of it. I'll win. Like those were nights where I would go to sleep and I would hope I don't wake up. Those were nights where I would go to sleep and I would just kind of hold the pistol like this and with my thumb flip the safety on and off, and I would just look at it. Because I didn't want to live. I'd rather much die. And I still kind of told myself, like, if I can't die, if I don't get the chance to die, then I'm going to get through this. And I'm going to win. And I'm going to be the best. And I had nothing to show for it. Like nothing. I wasn't the best in any realm of human endeavor. I wasn't the best in any category. I wasn't winning in any category, but I just believed that I would. Because damn, why not? So I was extremely delusional and crazy. And anyone that I've met that's successful, that has done something good with their life, has done something great, that will do something great, that is already doing something great, They have the same trait of being okay with delusional and crazy. They have the same exact traits because they know it too. Because it takes a crazy delusional person to say, no, I'm not going to be like you. I'm not going to school. I'm not going to get a degree. And I'm definitely not going to get a job. I'm going to find a way to succeed and win. And as a matter of fact, I don't even care what you have to say. Like, I'm going to get it done. It's going to happen. And it's okay. Whatever you have to say about me, it's okay. It's not like I can change your mind, so it's okay. Like, it takes a delusional and crazy person to say that, which is good. Which is why the game of entrepreneurship is so... People believe that not everyone's cut out to be an entrepreneur. I hate that. They just haven't been taught to think accordingly or behave in a way that makes them look like an entrepreneur. I don't like the idea that you're born for things. I think truly that we can do whatever the heck we want. You don't have to be born for anything. You just have to train yourself to behave, think, and act like someone that is whatever it is that you want to become would. So, for example, if you want to become a pro athlete, train yourself to think, behave, and act like a pro athlete does. And so when it's Friday night and everyone wants to go out to the club, behave like a pro athlete. Pro athlete would say no, right? It's the ability to say no. Next one, learn to lose people. Appreciate it when you lose people. They were removed, not lost. They were here to teach you something, or you were there to teach them something. That's all. You'll lose people along the way. This is another fear that people have. They want to maintain their relationships and friendships because, to a degree, relationship building is what keeps humans feeling the best. By being around people we want to be around, we feel good. Now, try not reaching out to people for 1 year and see who still calls. Those are the people that you want to keep close because they are the ones that care enough to check in with you. As you get better, you have no choice but to abandon people that are not on your level. Because if not, you risk your success just to keep them in your life. And that is not the best trade-off. I've lost so many people in my life. And you have to understand that it's a seasonal thing. When I was in the military, I had a bunch of friends. And then I don't speak to any of them anymore because it was a seasonal thing. For that season, I was meant to be with them. I was meant to connect with them. I was meant to be their friend for that season. Now, when I was working at Brother Cosmetics with one of my friends, that was a season. And I could have sworn that me and this dude were gonna I just imagine things playing out different, right? So if you guys didn't know, Brother Cosmetics is owned and operated by Adrian. He's CEO and founder. And I talk about him all the time. That's my boy since we were 16. Like I said, I didn't go into business with him, but I just had an opportunity there. So he had a small business at the time, and I tried my best to help him scale it. I did what I could, but me and him haven't spoken in a while, and I never thought I'd see that. You're gonna lose people because sometimes people are meant to be around for a season. People are meant to teach you something. You're meant to teach someone something, and then that's it. Move on. Which is why I value almost every conversation that I have with people because I don't know if this is the last time that they're going to be in my life. They might die. Or their journey might just call for something else and they just might be embarking on a different path. I always appreciate every moment that I get to have with someone because of that reason alone. You're gonna lose people, and it's okay. You can't escape it. You can try to, but you can't. Sometimes you just have to understand that it's not a loss. It's either they were removed or they served their purpose. Things are only a loss when we would rather have that person or that thing in our possession. That's when it becomes a loss. So, for example, if I wanted someone in my life and they left, I would consider that a loss because I wanted them in my life. If I didn't want someone in my life and they left, I would consider that them being removed because I didn't have a desire to have them in my life in the first place. So learn to lose people. Next one, and this will be the last one. Sacrifices make a champion. Success calls for sacrifice. We all know this. Some of us are not willing to sacrifice things for the outcome because we can't imagine the pain that we would have to go through. So we become complacent. We're okay with minor pain every day, which inevitably becomes a much larger pain. If you knew you could have the life that you wanted, 100% guaranteed, would you make the sacrifice? Like 100%. The answer is yes, most of the times. However, we assume that we'll fail and the sacrifice will be for nothing. This prevents us from making the sacrifice because we assume that it'll be effort wasted. That's what happens when you're focused on the destination and the results. I like to focus on who I become along the way because who you become along the journey is much more valuable than the destination. Who you become as you want to build that multi-million-dollar business, who you become is a lot more valuable than actually having the multi-million-dollar business. Who you become when you want to get in the best shape of your life is a lot more valuable than the body that you see. Who you become when you are completely unmotivated and you need to get your life together says a lot as opposed to you just having your life together. Like, the process will do more for you than you can possibly do for yourself. And all you have to do is start the process, and the process will start working on you. You think you're working on yourself. You're not working on anything. The process is working on you. All you're doing is showing up and doing exactly what's required. But the process is what's changing your character. The process itself is what's developing you to be someone that's much more capable, a leader, not a follower. And so I'm really focused. It's not that I'm not focused on results. I am focused on results. I like to see that whatever I'm doing is working. And I like to see that if there's a better way to do it, I'll do that. I like being result oriented, but the thing about being result oriented is it'll never be enough. When you're result oriented, 1 million turns to 2, 2 turns to 3, got to get 5, got to get 10, got to get 100. Oh, I got this. Now let me do this. Let me do this. Let me do this. Oh, I read one book. Let me read another one. The ability to be present and mindful throughout all of that, throughout the process, is actually what matters most. And this is coming from somebody who's been obsessed with getting results his whole life. And I've felt the most growth and I felt the most mental clarity when I was going through the process. So it's not the result, it's not me wanting to go to the gym and get done with the workout. No, it's how I feel as I'm training. Every rep, as the sweat drips down my nose, as my muscle and my body, it just aches, right? It's how I feel during the process that I really appreciate because it doesn't feel good. But I know that so long as I draw breath, I will not die. That was the last one for the video. So again, we have 1, be extremely fearful of failing. 2, avoid comfort. There's a time for leverage and there's a time for just brute force. 3, use your anxiety-driven mind. 4, know when to proceed with logic versus emotion. 5, avoid procrastination. 6, conquer the fear of death. 7, be delusional and crazy. 8, learn to lose people. And then 9, make sacrifices. Those are rules. Those are our tips and tricks to overcome this fear of success. Yes, it's a real thing because now we have more on our plate. Now that we have more on our plate, it's a lot more difficult. But don't fear success. Fear not living up to your fullest potential. You should fear that. Success is a byproduct of just doing the work that no one else will do. And yeah, it's going to get more difficult. And yeah, it's going to get more hectic. But again, you become better equipped. You have more tools at your disposal. Good luck, man.